Charlie Kirk's killer has allegedly confessed to his father, and his father, after speaking with some pastors in the area, turned his son into law enforcement. We now know the identity of the killer. His name is Tyler Robinson. He is 22 years old. He is now in custody. There was just a press conference held in Utah by the governor as well as the FBI. I want to go through the facts that we know, and I want to stick to the facts. What we know about Tyler Robinson is that he comes from a very Republican family. Tyler Robinson's political affiliation is unknown. We know this family is Mormon. This family is white. We know that Tyler Robinson was raised with guns and shooting. His mom referred to the family as a gun-toting family. There's lots of photos with him at shooting ranges. I'll show you those photos now. He wore a Trump costume for Halloween in the past. Again, this seems to be a family that was supportive of Donald Trump. Tyler Robinson's father, who you see right here, he was a sheriff. He's a retired sheriff, a veteran of the Washington County Sheriff's Department. And he ultimately turned his own son in after the FBI and local law enforcement, really because of the FBI, had totally botched this investigation. I want to go through now some of the additional facts that we're aware of.
A big breaking news is coming in. We finally have a name. The man who pulled the trigger and ended Charlie Kirk's life at Utah Valley University has been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. After days of chaos, false leads, and botched announcements from the FBI, it wasn't the federal government that cracked the case. It was Robinson's own father. According to officials in Utah, Robinson confessed privately to his dad, who then sought guidance from pastors in the area. Those conversations led to a decision no parent wants to face, but one that spared this case from becoming another unsolved wound. Robinson's father, a retired sheriff from Washington County, personally turned his son into law enforcement. That is why there was suddenly a coordinated press conference in Utah with Governor Spencer Cox standing alongside the FBI, this time with something real to say instead of another half step and walk back. The facts we know about Tyler Robinson are coming into sharper focus. He comes from a Republican, gun-owning family in Utah. His mother has posted openly about them being what she called a gun-toting household. There are photos of Robinson at shooting ranges, proudly posing with rifles, and even one from Halloween where he dressed up as Donald Trump. His father is a veteran of the sheriff's department, the very man who ultimately delivered him into custody. The family is Mormon, white, deeply rooted in Utah, and far from the caricatures that had been blasted out of the Oval Office just days ago when Donald Trump and his allies blamed Democrats, trans people, and anyone else they could name without evidence. The simple truth is that the shooter came from their own backyard. Here is the mugshot of Tyler Robinson that has now been released. He looks nothing like the bogeyman right-wing influencers conjured up in their fevered rush to politicize this murder. Instead, he looks like any other young white man from a Republican household in the Mountain West, one who loved guns, played online games, and had a family that once thought of him as a normal kid.
This is the mugshot right now of the suspect, Tyler Robinson. You see it right here. This is the photo from Halloween of the alleged Charlie Kirk shooter, proudly wearing his Trump costume for Halloween. One of the bullet casings that were found had an inscription that read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAOO." There were other inscriptions as well. I want to be very clear not to read too much into the inscriptions. There are some people who are saying that the inscriptions are actually a code for an online game called Helldivers, and it activates like a special bombing thing called Eagle 500, whatever. But the other inscriptions appear to say, "Notices bulges, OWO, what's this? Hey, fascists, catch up arrow, right arrow, 3 down arrow," as like literally a code to activate a certain bomb in a game. Some suspect that, but I just want to let you know what they say. These do not appear to be what it was previously reported to say when the ATF released false information, or when the FBI released false information the other day. There's this photo right here of Tyler Robinson posted by his mother, Amber, on October 31, 2018. His mother writes, "Happy Halloween, handing out candy alone since these weirdos ditched me. Tyler is some guy from a meme. Austin is the crazy end of the world homeless guy. And Logan is a fancy skeleton. Hashtag my kids are weird. Happy Halloween, boys mom." You see that right there. The meme actually appears to be the Pepe Frog Groiper meme, which is a racist meme. But you can judge for yourself if that's the meme. But we put up the Pepe the Frog meme. It's associated with anti-Semitic slurs and behavior like that. Here's Tyler Robinson with the various weapons. These are photos that his mom was posting. My son's a leather-working, gun-touting, cowboy-loving, brilliant kid. This was referring to her other son, Austin. But the mom posted photos like this about her son, Tyler, who you see here. Lots of photos of them taking family vacations together. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, so let me get this straight. After days of Republicans blaming and vilifying Democrats and trans people for Kirk's murder, despite having no clue who the person was, we find out it's a white guy from a Republican family in Utah who loved guns. Yeah, that sounds about right. Then Kash Patel tries to brag like law enforcement figured this out. Law enforcement didn't figure this out. The guy confessed to his dad, and his dad turned his son in. Actually should have been a pretty easy case to solve, given that they lived in Utah, they had guns. Oh, by the way, Tyler Robinson got a scholarship. He attended only one semester before dropping out. Still unclear why he dropped out, but he actually went to that school. So, given all the surveillance cameras, given that he went to the school, gun loving, if you ran the correct profile on who the shooter was versus trying to create a narrative to divide the country and saying it was trans, whatever you were trying to say, you may have actually been able to do real law enforcement work. Here's Kash Patel trying to act like this is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement. Here, play this clip.
The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great, and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days.
And then Kash Patel's like, and this is what happens when you let good cops be good cops. Here, play this clip.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops.
You're trying to who's not letting good cops be good cops? You aren't, by imposing your ideology onto law enforcement investigations. The cops didn't do anything here to be in terms of finding the guy. You didn't do anything. The cops may have been able to find the guy if you didn't get in their way. Let me be clear about that. The way this was resolved was that the guy, Tyler Robinson, confessed to his dad, and his dad turned his son in after 3 days of you botching the investigation. You see that. Next, Kash Patel goes, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with our partners, we've apprehended the suspect in a historic time period. What do you mean a historic time period? What are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency.
And then, of course, Charlie Kirk's got to have his social media moment, which he botches as well. And he's like, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. I will see you in Valhalla. I will see you soon. Here, play this clip.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
By the way, then you have Governor Cox of Utah tries to politicize this, and he goes, don't you see that we did not riot in Utah? There was no rioting. There was no looting. There was no car set on fire. A white Mormon from a Republican family shot and killed Charlie Kirk, a guy who dressed up as Donald Trump for Halloween. What are you even talking about? Here, play this clip.
But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes, because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency.
Investigators are still combing through the inscriptions that were scratched into the bullet casings recovered at the scene. Early false reports that the ammunition was engraved with transgender and anti-fascist ideology collapsed almost instantly. What they have now looks more like gibberish, or even cheat codes from online games. Strange phrases like, if you read this, you are gay, and arrows that gamers recognize as input codes. Whether they are inside jokes or a sign of Robinson's online life bleeding into violence, investigators have cautioned against drawing premature conclusions. The point is that the earlier narrative pushed out by federal authorities and echoed in headlines was flat wrong. This case should have been simple. Robinson was a student at Utah Valley University for a semester before dropping out. He knew the campus, he had access to the grounds, and he matched the clothing captured in the surveillance footage right down to the American flag t-shirt with an eagle on it, the black pants, the baseball cap with a triangle symbol, and the Converse sneakers with white soles. There were palm impressions and shoe prints left when he dropped from a rooftop, clear forensic clues. But instead of focusing on the obvious, the FBI under Kash Patel chased ghosts, misidentified 2 separate men, paraded them before the public as suspects, and then had to walk it all back. In the end, it wasn't investigative brilliance that closed this chapter. It was a father who chose the law over blood. That didn't stop Patel from claiming victory at the press conference. He declared that the arrest was a testament to letting good cops be good cops, thanked himself for the dedication of law enforcement, and bragged that the suspect was apprehended in record time, 33 hours to be exact. What he did not admit was that those hours were filled with false claims, defamatory posts, and wild disinformation that only stopped once a family member stepped forward. Governor Cox joined in, bizarrely praising Utahns for not rioting, not looting, and not burning cars in the streets, as if the bar for civic decency is measured against a riot that never existed. His remarks seemed more like a chance to contrast his state with liberal cities than a genuine attempt at healing. Meanwhile, Donald Trump used his platform to spread lies in the immediate aftermath, blaming Democrats and trans ideology before anyone knew who fired the shot. By the time the truth emerged, many Americans had already heard only his version, his Oval Office speech blaming the left, amplified by his allies in Congress and on Fox News. When asked about the arrest on television this morning, Trump was strangely casual, talking about ministers and marshals and fathers, then quickly pivoting to threats against Chicago, George Soros, and Gavin Newsom, as if moving on was the point. The truth that a white Republican family's son was responsible will never reach the same audience that heard his false blame. Right-wing spaces online are already melting down. On 4chan and similar forums, posters are mocking each other. Some admit they thought the shooter would turn out to be Latino, black, or trans. Now they are staring at photos of a clean-cut white Utah kid who once wore a Trump costume for Halloween and asking, "Is this really our guy?" The answer is yes, and it devastates the narrative they were salivating to weaponize. So let's be clear about what happened. Charlie Kirk's assassin was not a leftist infiltrator, not a trans activist, not an Antifa agent. He was Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from a Republican Mormon family in Utah, raised around guns, once a student at the very campus where the killing occurred. He confessed to his father, and his father turned him in. That is the chain of events. No one should let it be rewritten. And no one should let Patel or Trump or any politician spin this as proof of anything other than the truth. Their rush to demonize their enemies not only failed, but nearly derailed the investigation. Without a father's conscience, we might still be lost in the fog of lies.